Now let's begin. Spencer Wilkins learned 3 things by the time he turned 34. How to build something from nothing, how to spot genuine people in a room full of pretenders, and how to walk away when walking away was the hardest thing to do. The first lesson came from his father, Richard Wilkins, a line cook who worked doubles at a chain restaurant for 20 years before a heart attack took him at 52. Spencer was 19 then, halfway through community college with dreams that felt too big for the cramped apartment he shared with his mother in Riverside. His father left him 2 things: a collection of handwritten recipes on grease-stained index cards, and a piece of advice delivered in a hospital room that smelled of disinfectant and defeat. "The world doesn't owe you anything, son," Richard had said, his voice weak but steady. "But if you can cook, you can always feed yourself. And if you can feed yourself, you can feed others. That's power they can't take from you." Spencer took those words seriously. He dropped out of college, worked 3 kitchen jobs simultaneously, saved every dollar he could scrape together. By 25, he opened his first restaurant, a small Italian place in San Bernardino called Stella's, named after his mother. The food was honest, the portions generous, the prices fair. Word spread. Within 3 years, he opened a second location. By 30, he had 4 restaurants across Southern California and had started a catering company that specialized in high-end private events. That's when he met Lydia Mosley. She walked into the flagship Stella's on a Tuesday evening in March, part of a corporate dinner for the marketing firm where she worked as a senior account executive. Spencer wasn't supposed to be there that night. His head chef, Marcos Wilson, had everything under control, but he'd stopped by to check on a new dessert menu. He noticed her immediately, not because she was beautiful, though she was, with dark hair cut in a precise bob and sharp green eyes that seemed to evaluate everything around her. He noticed her because she sent back the risotto twice. "Too salty," she told the server the first time. "Too bland," she said the second time. Spencer personally made the 3rd plate, getting the balance exactly right, and brought it to her table himself. She took 1 bite, set down her fork, and looked up at him with an expression that wasn't quite a smile. "Better," she said, "but the presentation could use work." Most people who sent food back twice didn't get a 3rd plate, let alone the owner's attention. But something about her confidence intrigued him. She wasn't being difficult for the sake of it. She knew what she wanted and wasn't afraid to ask for it. They were married 14 months later in a ceremony at the Mosley family estate in Pasadena, a sprawling property that spoke of old money and older expectations. Spencer's mother, Stella, looked uncomfortable throughout the reception, her simple dress standing out among the designer gowns and tailored suits. She pulled Spencer aside during the first dance. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "I love her, Ma," Spencer said, and he meant it. Lydia was driven, sophisticated, challenging in ways that pushed him to be better. She helped him refine his business strategy, introduced him to investors, made connections that led to lucrative catering contracts. She fit into his life like a missing piece he hadn't known he needed. "Love isn't always enough," Stella said, but she kissed his cheek and wished him happiness. His mother died 8 months after the wedding, a stroke that took her quickly. Lydia was supportive during the funeral, organized everything efficiently, held his hand during the service. But he noticed she didn't cry, not once. When he mentioned it later, she shrugged. "I didn't know her that well," Lydia said. "I'm sad for you, not for her." The honesty seemed reasonable at the time. Now, for years later, Spencer wondered if he should have paid more attention to what that honesty revealed. Their daughter, Emma, was born 2 years into the marriage, a surprise that derailed Lydia's plan to make partner at her firm by 35. She took the minimum maternity leave, hired a nanny, and went back to work with a determination that bordered on ferocity. Spencer adjusted his schedule to be home more, conducting business from the home office Lydia had designed for him, picking Emma up from daycare, handling bedtime routines while Lydia worked late. He didn't mind. Emma was perfect, curious, affectionate, with his dark curls and Lydia's sharp intelligence. At 3, she could identify herbs by smell. At 4, she helped him test recipes, offering opinions with a seriousness that made him laugh. She was his anchor, his reminder of why everything else mattered. But the marriage started showing cracks that no amount of success could fill. The second lesson Spencer learned, how to spot genuine people, came through bitter experience. Gwendolyn Mosley made her opinions clear from the beginning. though Spencer was too optimistic to recognize them as warnings. At the engagement party, she cornered him near the champagne fountain. Lydia could have had anyone, Gwendolyn said, her smile not reaching her eyes. Her father and I always imagined her with someone from a similar background, someone who understood our world. I'm working on building my own world, Spencer replied, keeping his tone light. Of course you are, dear. She patted his arm with the kind of condescension usually reserved for children and service staff. Just remember, restaurants are so fickle. Here one day, gone the next. Lydia needs stability. Spencer's restaurants were anything but fickle. His businesses were thriving, his reputation solid, his financial situation better than 90% of people his age. But Gwendolyn Mosley had a talent for making him feel like he was still that 19-year-old kid scraping by in Riverside, no matter what he accomplished. She got worse after Emma was born. Every visit to the Mosley estate became an opportunity for subtle criticism disguised as concern. Emma needs more structure, she'd say, watching Spencer play with his daughter in the garden. Children her age should be in music lessons, language classes. Playtime is fine, but she needs proper cultivation. She's 4, Gwendolyn, Spencer would reply. Exactly. The formative years. Lydia was reading by 3. The criticisms multiplied. His food was too pedestrian for the dinner parties Gwendolyn hosted, though she had no problem calling him when she needed catering for her charity events, at a family discount, naturally. His clothes were adequate but uninspired. His education was admirable for someone who started with so little. Even his restaurants became targets. Italian food is so common now, she said once, loudly enough for other guests to hear. Everyone's opening Italian restaurants. No originality. Lydia rarely defended him. At first, Spencer attributed this to not wanting conflict with her mother. But as time passed, he noticed she'd started echoing Gwendolyn's sentiments, particularly after Emma was born and Lydia's partnership timeline got pushed back. Maybe you could be more strategic about which events you cater, Lydia suggested one evening, reviewing their finances in the home office. The Hartley wedding next month. Do we really need that? It's 2 hours away, and Emma has her recital that weekend. Marcos is handling the Hartley wedding. I'll be at Emma's recital, Spencer said. But you're missing the Andersons' dinner party. Mother specifically requested you. Your mother specifically requested free catering. Again, Lydia's expression hardened. It's networking, Spencer. Something you should understand if you want to keep growing. I'm doing fine. Are you? She closed the laptop. Because from where I'm sitting, you've plateaued. For restaurants, same catering clients, same routine. Meanwhile, I'm trying to build something bigger, and instead of supporting that, you're playing house. I'm raising our daughter. We have a nanny for that. The argument escalated, as they often did now, ending with Lydia in the bedroom and Spencer in the kitchen, cooking to calm his mind. Emma found him there an hour later, dragging her stuffed rabbit. Daddy's sad? She asked, climbing onto the stool beside him. Daddy's fine, sweet pea. He kissed the top of her head. Mommy, yell again. Spencer didn't know what to say to that. Emma was noticing more, understanding more. Last month, she'd asked why Mommy didn't hug her like Daddy did. Last week, she'd cried when Lydia snapped at her for spilling juice. The incidents were adding up, creating a picture Spencer didn't want to see clearly. But the third lesson, knowing when to walk away, that one was still being learned. The invitation to Emma's 5th birthday party arrived 6 weeks before the event, printed on expensive cardstock with embossed lettering. Spencer found it on the kitchen counter when he returned from the downtown restaurant. Emma's 5th birthday celebration, it read. Hosted by Gwendolyn and Lydia Mosley at the Mosley Estate. June 15th, 2 to 6 p.m. He read it 3 times, noting what was missing, his name. Lydia was in the living room, reviewing contracts on her laptop. Before you say anything, she started, not looking up. Mother offered to handle everything. She has connections with the best children's entertainers, and the estate has the space we don't have here. I run a catering company, Lydia. I could have. I know what you're thinking, but this isn't about that. Mother wants to do this for Emma. For family. I'm Emma's father. And you'll be there, obviously. She finally looked at him. Unless you're going to make this difficult. Spencer held up the invitation. My name's not on here. It's my maiden name. The estate is under that name. It's just how these things are done. These things. Spencer set the invitation down carefully. What things exactly? Don't be dramatic. Emma will have a wonderful party. That's what matters. What mattered, Spencer thought but didn't say, was that his daughter's birthday had become another Mosley production, another event where he was expected to show up and smile while being subtly erased. But he didn't fight it. Not yet. Because fighting meant acknowledging that the marriage was failing, that every decision Lydia made now came with her mother's influence, that the woman he'd loved was becoming someone he didn't recognize. Instead, he focused on what he could control. He'd been documenting things for months now, not because he planned to use the information, but because his gut told him to pay attention. The calendar entries showing Lydia's increasing absences. The credit card statements revealing expensive dinners and hotel stays that didn't align with her work travel. The nanny's carefully neutral comments about how often Grandma Gwendolyn visited when Daddy was at the restaurants. The recordings he'd started making of conversations after Lydia accused him of misremembering arguments. Spencer wasn't stupid, and he'd learned to trust his instincts. Something was wrong, had been wrong for a while. He just hadn't wanted to see it clearly. 2 weeks before Emma's birthday, he hired Terrence Kramer, a private investigator recommended by his business attorney. Terrence was former FBI, meticulous and discreet. Spencer gave him one instruction: find the truth. The truth came back in a folder delivered to his downtown office 3 days before the party. Lydia was having an affair with Colin Fields, a senior partner at her firm. They'd been together for 7 months, meeting at a hotel in Newport Beach twice a week. The relationship was semi-public within their social circle. Gwendolyn knew and approved, apparently believing Colin was more suitable for her daughter than a restaurant owner from Riverside. But the affair was only part of it. The folder included email exchanges between Lydia and Gwendolyn discussing plans to push Spencer out of Emma's life gradually. Supervised visitation at best, one email read. Emma needs better influences. Another discussed concerns that Spencer's working-class background would limit Emma's social opportunities. There were draft divorce papers Lydia had been reviewing with Colin, who apparently practiced family law as well. The settlement she was planning would give her full custody, the house, and a significant portion of Spencer's business assets. The most damning evidence came from a recorded conversation between Lydia and Gwendolyn, captured by Terrence through methods Spencer didn't ask about and didn't want to know. They discussed using the birthday party as a statement event, a way to demonstrate to their social circle that Spencer was peripheral to the family, not really one of them, easily removed when the time came. Make him understand his place, Gwendolyn said in the recording. Then we proceed with the divorce on our terms. Spencer listened to that recording in his office 3 times, his hands shaking with rage, hurt, and something else, a cold, crystallizing clarity. The woman he'd loved, the woman he'd built a life with, was conspiring with her mother to destroy him and take his daughter. The third lesson was finally learned, knowing when to walk away and how to do it with purpose. The morning of Emma's birthday, Spencer woke early. Emma was already awake, bouncing on her bed with the barely contained excitement only a child turning 5 could manage. Birthday? Birthday? Daddy, it's my birthday. He scooped her up, spinning her around until she shrieked with laughter. Happy birthday, sweet pea. 5 years old. When did you get so big? I grew. She stretched her arms wide. Can we have pancakes? Absolutely. They made pancakes together in the kitchen, Emma standing on her step stool, carefully pouring batter while Spencer supervised. She was chattering about the party, the bounce house Grandma promised, the magician, the princess theme she'd chosen. All my friends coming, Emma said. And you and Mommy and Grandma and Grandpa. Spencer's smile felt like it might crack his face. Sounds perfect, baby. Lydia appeared at noon, dressed in a designer outfit that probably cost more than the average person's monthly rent. She barely glanced at Spencer. Emma, let's get you ready. We need to leave in an hour. Where's Daddy going? Emma asked. Daddy will meet us there, Lydia said smoothly. He has some work things to finish. Spencer said nothing. He'd already done his work, made his calls, set everything in motion. The performance required patience now, and he'd learned patience in those years working multiple kitchen jobs, waiting for his chance. The Mosley estate looked spectacular when Spencer arrived at 2:15 p.m., fashionably late and deliberately calm. The grounds had been transformed into a princess wonderland, pink and gold everywhere, balloon arches, a massive bounce house shaped like a castle, tables laden with elaborately decorated treats he hadn't made. A professional photographer circulated among the early arrivals, all of them from Gwendolyn's social circle, their children dressed like they were attending a wedding rather than a kid's birthday party. Emma saw him first, breaking away from a group of children to run across the lawn. "Daddy, you came. You came." He caught her, lifting her up. "Of course I came. It's your birthday. Come see the bounce house. Come see everything." She dragged him by the hand toward the festivities, chattering nonstop. Spencer smiled, laughed at appropriate moments, let her joy wash over him. Whatever happened next, he wanted her to have this moment, this memory of her father being present, being happy for her. Gwendolyn intercepted them near the dessert table, her expression a masterclass in polite disapproval. "Spencer, how nice of you to join us." The emphasis on join made it clear he was a guest, not a host. "Emma, darling, the magician is about to start. Run along." Emma hesitated, looking between her father and grandmother. "Go ahead, sweet pea," Spencer said gently. "I'll be right here." Once Emma was out of earshot, Gwendolyn's facade dropped slightly. "I'm glad you could make it, but I need to be clear about something. This is a family celebration. These are our friends, our community. Please don't embarrass us by making a scene or drawing unnecessary attention to yourself." Spencer looked at her, really looked at her, and saw exactly what she was, a woman who measured worth by social standing and bank balances, who saw people as accessories to be displayed or discarded based on usefulness. She'd never seen him as worthy of her daughter, would never see Emma as anything but a Mosley to be shaped in their image. "I understand completely," Spencer said, his voice quiet. "Good." Gwendolyn smiled, the victory evident in her eyes. "Why don't you help yourself to some refreshments? The caterer is excellent, not quite your style, but very professional." She walked away, already dismissing him from her thoughts. Spencer stood there for a moment, watching the party unfold. Lydia was across the lawn, talking to Colin Fields, who'd apparently been invited. They weren't touching, but the intimacy in their body language was obvious to anyone paying attention. Emma was with the other children, watching the magician, her face bright with wonder. His phone buzzed. A text from Marcos. "Everything confirmed. All vendors notified. They're ready on your signal." Spencer typed back, "Execute at 5 p.m. exactly." Another text, this one from Terrence. "Documents filed. Clock starts at 5:01 p.m. Spencer pocketed his phone and walked over to where Emma sat with the other children. He settled on the grass beside her, ignoring the looks from other parents. The magician was making a rabbit appear from a hat, and Emma grabbed Spencer's hand in excitement. "Did you see, Daddy? Did you see? I saw, sweet pea. Pretty amazing." The show continued. Spencer stayed with Emma, participating in the games, helping her with the treasure hunt, taking photos with his phone that he'd keep forever. Gwendolyn kept her distance, though he caught her irritated glances. Lydia approached once, her voice low and tight. "You're monopolizing Emma. Other children want to play with her." "Emma wants me here," Spencer replied evenly. "You're making everyone uncomfortable. Then maybe we should leave." "Don't be ridiculous. You can't just leave. People will talk." Spencer looked directly at her. "People are already talking, Lydia, about a lot of things." Something flickered in her eyes, uncertainty, maybe fear, but she covered it quickly. "I don't know what you mean." "I think you do." She left, retreating to Colin's side. Spencer watched them for a moment, then turned his attention back to Emma, who was trying to bounce as high as possible in the castle, her laughter echoing across the lawn. At 4:45 p.m., Gwendolyn approached him again, her patience clearly exhausted. "Spencer, I need to speak with you. Privately. I'm with Emma. This can't wait." He stood, following her to a quiet corner of the garden, away from the party. Gwendolyn turned to face him, her expression cold and imperious. "I've tried to be polite, but you're overstepping. This party is about Emma. Yes, but it's also about our family, our community. You're here as a courtesy, but you're not. You're not really part of this." She gestured at the estate, the guests, the carefully curated perfection. "Lydia and I have discussed this. We think it's time for you to understand your place in Emma's life moving forward." "My place? Limited involvement. Supervised visits. Financial support, of course, but the day-to-day, the decisions, the raising, that should be left to people who understand how to prepare Emma for the life she deserves. Not a life in restaurants and kitchens, but something more." Spencer felt his phone buzz. 5 p.m. Right on time. "You're saying I'm not good enough for my daughter," he said quietly. I'm saying Emma deserves the best, and the best means. This is a family celebration. You're not family. Leave. The words hung in the air. Around them, the party continued, unaware of the bomb that had just detonated in this quiet corner of the garden. Spencer nodded slowly. You're right. If I'm not family, I shouldn't be here. He walked away from Gwendolyn's stunned expression, back toward the party. Emma saw him coming and ran to meet him, but there were tears on her face now. Daddy, Grandma said you have to go. She said you're not supposed to be here. I heard, Sweet Pea. But it's my birthday. I want you here. Please don't go, Daddy, please. Spencer knelt down, eye level with his daughter. The other children and parents were starting to notice, conversations dying down as the scene unfolded. Emma, do you want to stay at this party? Or do you want to come with me? I want you to stay. She was crying harder now, her small hands clutching his shirt. I can't stay if I'm not wanted, baby. But you can choose. Stay here with Mommy and Grandma, or come with me. Whatever you want. Emma didn't hesitate. Take me with you. I hate this party. I hate it. Lydia rushed over, Colin trailing behind her. Emma, don't be dramatic. Daddy just has to leave early, that's all. You can see him tomorrow. No, I'm going with Daddy. Emma, you're staying here, Lydia said, her voice sharp with embarrassment as more people stopped to watch. Spencer picked Emma up gently. She wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face against his shoulder. She made her choice, Spencer said. Put her down. You can't just take her. She's my daughter, and she wants to leave with me. We're leaving. He started walking toward the entrance, Emma holding him tight. Behind him, he could hear Gwendolyn's outraged protests, Lydia's frantic attempts to stop him, the murmur of shocked guests. He didn't look back. At the car, he buckled Emma into her seat, her tears finally subsiding into hiccups. Where are we going, Daddy? Home first. Then maybe we'll get some real birthday cake. Just you and me. Sound good? She nodded, wiping her eyes. I didn't like that party anyway. I know, Sweet Pea. I know. As Spencer drove away from the Mosley estate at 5:12 p.m., his phone began to buzz with incoming calls. He ignored them all, focusing on the road and the little girl in his rearview mirror, already looking calmer, safer. Behind him, at the estate, the dominoes he'd carefully arranged were beginning to fall. The first call came at 5:03 p.m., just as Gwendolyn was telling Lydia to call the police about Spencer kidnapping Emma. The catering manager for Prestige Events, the company Gwendolyn had booked to handle all food and drinks, called Gwendolyn directly. Mrs. Mosley, there's been a cancellation of your contract. I'm terribly sorry, but we need to collect our equipment immediately. Cancellation? I didn't cancel anything. The cancellation came from the account holder, Spencer Wilkins. He paid the full deposit and final balance, which gives him authorization to. Spencer? But I arranged this. Through Mr. Wilkins's commercial account, yes ma'am. All our contracts with you for the past 2 years have been processed through his business accounts. Since he's canceled and requested a refund, we need to remove our equipment per our policy. The servers began dismantling the food stations even as Gwendolyn argued. The bartender packed up. Within 15 minutes, the elaborate spread was gone, leaving hungry children and confused parents. At 5:17 p.m., the bounce house company arrived to deflate and remove the castle. Same story, Spencer's account, Spencer's cancellation, no negotiation possible. At 5:23 p.m., the magician left mid-performance, apologizing profusely but explaining that without payment, which had apparently been reversed, he couldn't continue. At 5:31 p.m., the DJ packed up his equipment. At 5:39 p.m., the photographer stopped taking pictures and requested the memory cards back, as the contract had been voided. By 6 p.m., the party was effectively over. Confused guests made awkward excuses and left, their children crying about the promised cake and activities that had vanished. Gwendolyn stood in the middle of her perfect lawn, watching her perfect party disintegrate, her face a mask of rage and humiliation. Lydia's phone showed 28 missed calls to Spencer by midnight, along with increasingly frantic voicemails and texts. Pick up. This isn't funny. You've embarrassed us in front of everyone. Bring Emma back now. We can talk about this. Spencer, please. But Spencer wasn't answering. He was home, in his own house, watching Emma blow out candles on a homemade cake, chocolate with vanilla frosting, her actual favorite, not the elaborate fondant creation Gwendolyn had ordered. They ate cake in their pajamas, just the two of them, and Emma laughed more than she had all day. "Best birthday ever, Daddy," she said, chocolate on her face. "Yeah, sweet pea. It was pretty good, wasn't it?" After he put Emma to bed, Spencer sat in his home office and reviewed the documents Terrence had delivered earlier that day. Everything was ready. Everything was in place. The party cancellations were just the opening move. Tomorrow, Lydia and Gwendolyn would discover what else he'd done. Tomorrow, they'd realize that Spencer Wilkins wasn't the pushover they'd assumed he was. Tomorrow, the real reckoning would begin. But tonight, his daughter was safe, happy, and sleeping peacefully in her room. Tonight, that was enough. Spencer poured himself a single glass of whiskey, his father's favorite brand, and raised it in a silent toast to the man who'd taught him that power wasn't about money or status. Power was knowing what mattered and protecting it at any cost. The battle was just beginning, but Spencer had already won the only fight that mattered. His daughter chose him. Everything else was just cleanup. Morning arrived with Lydia at his door at 7:15 a.m., her face blotchy from crying or rage or both. Colin's Mercedes parked in the driveway behind her BMW. "We need to talk," she said when Spencer opened the door, still in his pajama pants and t-shirt. "About what?" "Don't play stupid, Spencer. You humiliated us. You ruined Emma's party. I left when your mother told me I wasn't family. Emma chose to leave with me. That's what happened. You sabotaged everything. The food, the entertainment, all of it. I canceled services I'd paid for. That's my right." Lydia pushed past him into the house. Colin stayed by the car, apparently smart enough to recognize when his presence would make things worse. "Where's Emma?" Lydia demanded. "Still sleeping. Unlike yesterday, when she had to wake up early to get ready for a party she didn't even want." "How dare you?" "How dare I what, Lydia? Be her father? Actually care about what she wants instead of using her birthday as a networking event for your mother's social circle? That's not what yesterday was about." Spencer's phone was in his pocket, recording as it had been recording everything for weeks. He'd learned to document everything, every conversation, every interaction. Insurance for moments exactly like this. Then what was it about? Because from where I stood, it was about putting me in my place. Making sure everyone understood I wasn't really part of the family. Your mother said it explicitly. Lydia's expression flickered. Guilt, maybe, or just irritation at being caught. Mother can be difficult, but that doesn't give you the right to destroy Emma's birthday. Emma had a great birthday. We had cake, watched movies, played games. She told me it was her best birthday ever. Because you turned her against us. No, Lydia. I just gave her a choice, and she chose me. That should tell you something. The words hung heavy between them. Lydia's hands were shaking, and Spencer recognized the signs. She was working herself up to something, some accusation or ultimatum she'd practiced with Colin or her mother. "I want Emma to stay with me this week," Lydia said finally. "You had her yesterday. It's only fair. Emma lives here. This is her home. It's my home too." "Is it?" Spencer gestured around the living room. "When was the last time you spent a full evening here? When was the last time you tucked Emma into bed? Had breakfast with her? Helped with her homework?" "I've been working." "You've been working on leaving." "I know about Colin, Lydia." The color drained from her face. "What?" "Colin Fields. Senior partner at your firm. 7 months. Newport Beach Hotel, twice a week. Your mother knows and approves because he's suitable, unlike the restaurant owner you married." Lydia stepped back, hitting the wall. "You had me followed? I had questions. I got answers. You bastard. You absolute bastard. I also know about the divorce papers you've been reviewing. The custody arrangement you were planning. The supervised visitation you and your mother discussed. The entire strategy to push me out of Emma's life and take half my business in the process." Lydia's mouth opened and closed, no sound coming out. For the first time in their marriage, she looked genuinely scared. "So here's what's going to happen," Spencer continued, his voice calm, almost gentle. "You're going to leave my house. You're going to go stay with your mother or Colin or whoever you want. And tomorrow morning, you're going to receive divorce papers from my attorney. They'll include a full custody petition, supported by evidence of parental alienation, infidelity, and your systematic attempts to remove me from my daughter's life. You can't. I can, and I already have. The papers were filed yesterday at 5:01 p.m. while you were still at the party wondering where all the vendors went." Lydia's legs seemed to give out. She slid down the wall until she was sitting on the floor, her designer dress pooling around her. Spencer, please. We can work this out. We can go to counseling, fix this. You had me followed by your mother's security to document my parenting. You discussed taking Emma away from me in emails I now have copies of. You planned to use my working-class background against me in court. You cheated on me for 7 months and planned your exit strategy with your lawyer boyfriend. What exactly is there to fix, Lydia? She started crying, real tears this time. I made mistakes. I got confused. Mother convinced me that we'd be better off, that Emma deserved more than a father who loves her, who shows up, who puts her first. I'm sorry. God, Spencer, I'm sorry. Emma appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, her stuffed rabbit dragging behind her. Why is Mommy crying? Lydia looked up, mascara streaking her cheeks. Emma, baby, come here. Emma didn't move toward her mother. She walked to Spencer, pressing against his leg. Daddy, why is everyone yelling? Spencer picked her up. Grown-up stuff, sweet pea. Nothing for you to worry about. Is Mommy sad because of the party? Lydia's face crumpled at that, the innocent question hitting harder than any accusation Spencer could have made. Mommy's going through some things, Spencer said carefully. But you're okay. We're okay. Right. Emma nodded against his shoulder. Can we have pancakes again? Absolutely. He looked at Lydia, still on the floor, and felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no regret. Just a cold clarity about what needed to happen next. You should go, he said quietly. Lydia pulled herself up, trying to regain some composure. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just haven't accepted it yet. She left without another word, Colin opening the car door for her. Spencer watched from the window as they drove away, then carried Emma to the kitchen. Daddy, Emma asked as he set her on the counter. Is Mommy coming back? I don't know, baby. Maybe not for a while. That's okay, Emma said with the brutal honesty of a 5-year-old. She doesn't really like pancakes anyway. Spencer started mixing batter, his hands steady, his mind already 3 steps ahead. The divorce papers would be served by noon. Lydia would call, her mother would call, their lawyers would posture and threaten. But Spencer had evidence, documentation, recordings. He had Terrence's investigation, the emails, the financial records showing how much of their life he'd actually paid for. More importantly, he had Emma. She was safe, she was happy, and she'd made her choice clear in front of witnesses. The rest was just details. By Wednesday, 3 days after the disastrous party, the Mosley family's perfect facade was showing significant cracks. The divorce papers Spencer filed weren't the quiet, civilized dissolution Lydia and Gwendolyn had been planning for him. They were comprehensive, aggressive, and backed by evidence that made their attorney, a family friend named Nathaniel Dunn, visibly uncomfortable during the initial consultation. He has recordings? Nathaniel asked, reviewing the response Spencer's attorney had filed. Apparently, Lydia said miserably. She was staying at the estate, ensconced in her childhood bedroom, which somehow made everything worse. Colin had made himself scarce after Spencer's revelation, suddenly very concerned about professional boundaries and conflicts of interest. Gwendolyn paced the study, her usual composure fractured. Recordings of what exactly? Conversations. Between me and Mother. About Spencer. About the custody arrangements we were planning. About. Lydia couldn't finish. About limiting his involvement with Emma. Gwendolyn finished coldly. So what? We were protecting our granddaughter from an unsuitable influence. Any judge would understand that. Nathaniel cleared his throat. Mrs. Mosley, with respect, that's not how parental alienation works in California courts. If Spencer can demonstrate that you and Lydia systematically attempted to remove him from Emma's life without cause, which these recordings appear to show, the court will view that extremely unfavorably. Without cause. Gwendolyn's voice rose. The man owns restaurants. He works with his hands. He came from nothing and has barely elevated himself above his origins. That's cause enough. That's not cause at all, actually. That's discrimination, which makes it worse. Lydia put her head in her hands. He has evidence of the affair too. Photos, hotel records, everything. The affair with Colin Fields, your attorney? Nathaniel's expression suggested he was reconsidering his retainer fee. The same Colin Fields you were consulting about divorce strategy? It wasn't like that. Mrs. Wilkins, it doesn't matter what it was like. It matters what it looks like. And it looks like you were planning to divorce your husband, while having an affair with an attorney who was helping you strategize that divorce. That's problematic. So what do we do? Gwendolyn demanded. Nathaniel set down his papers. Honestly, you settle. Fast. Because if this goes to trial, Spencer Wilkins is going to win custody, possibly exclusively. He'll win the house. He'll win most of the assets, because California is a no-fault state, but judges have discretion in community property division, and infidelity plus attempted parental alienation gives them plenty of reason to favor him. And you, he looked at Gwendolyn, could potentially be sued for interference with parental rights. That's absurd. It's documented. He has you on tape telling him he's not family, telling him to leave his daughter's birthday party, discussing plans to limit his access to Emma. Do you understand how that plays in family court? Especially when combined with evidence that Emma clearly prefers her father? The room fell silent. Gwendolyn's fury was palpable, but for once, she had no counter-argument. What kind of settlement? Lydia asked finally. You'd have to ask him. But my advice? Be prepared to give him everything he's asking for, because your negotiating position is somewhere between weak and non-existent. Spencer's settlement demands arrived Thursday morning. They were, as Nathaniel had predicted, comprehensive. Full legal and physical custody of Emma, with Lydia receiving supervised visitation every other weekend, gradually increasing to unsupervised if she completed parenting classes and therapy. The house, all of it, with Lydia's name removed from the deed. 70% of all marital assets, citing her infidelity and breach of marital trust. A restraining order preventing Gwendolyn from having unsupervised contact with Emma until she completed family therapy. All documentation of the affair and parental alienation conspiracy to be sealed, provided Lydia agreed to the terms without contest. He's trying to destroy us, Gwendolyn hissed, reading the demands for the third time. He's being generous, Nathaniel corrected. He could demand full assets, zero visitation, and file criminal charges for some of what's in those recordings. Instead, he's giving Lydia a path back to meaningful custody if she does the work. That's more than fair. Fair? He's taking Emma. You told him he wasn't family and ordered him to leave his daughter's birthday party. You coordinated with your daughter to systematically remove him from his child's life. What did you think would happen? Lydia had been quiet throughout the discussion, staring at the settlement papers with hollow eyes. I can see her every other weekend. Initially, yes. With supervision. After 6 months of therapy and parenting classes, that becomes unsupervised. After a year, if everyone agrees it's in Emma's best interest, it could expand to 1 weeknight and alternating weekends. What about holidays? Alternating. He gets Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. You get them next year. Her birthday. Nathaniel glanced at the papers. Joint celebration or split day, child's preference determining primary celebration. Lydia laughed bitterly. She'll choose him. She'll always choose him now. Then maybe you should have thought about that before. Nathaniel stopped himself, but the implication hung in the air. Gwendolyn stood abruptly. We're not accepting this. We'll fight it. I'll hire the best family attorneys in California. We'll. And lose, Nathaniel interrupted. And in losing, you'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, drag this out for years, traumatize Emma further, and still end up with worse terms than he's offering now. Because every day this goes on, he'll document how Emma thrives with him and struggles with you. He'll add evidence. He'll strengthen his case. You think he doesn't know that? So we just give up? Gwendolyn's voice was shrill with panic masked as rage. You accept reality. Spencer Wilkins played this perfectly. He documented everything, waited until he had incontrovertible evidence, then struck at the exact moment that would cause maximum impact and minimum blowback. The party cancellations? Embarrassing but completely legal. He paid for everything. He can cancel anything. Filing for divorce the same day? Strategic genius, because it establishes timeline and intent. Everything he's done has been calculated to put you in exactly this position. No options, no leverage, no good choices. You sound like you admire him, Gwendolyn said accusingly. I respect competence, Mrs. Mosley. And your son-in-law is extremely competent. You underestimated him, and now you're paying for it. Spencer received Lydia's acceptance of the settlement terms on Friday afternoon. No negotiation, no counteroffer, just a signed agreement and a request to schedule the first supervised visitation. He sat in his office at the downtown restaurant, the signed papers in front of him, and felt the weight of 4 years lift from his shoulders. It was done. Emma was safe. The life he'd built was protected. Marcos knocked on the door, bringing him back to the present. "You okay, boss?" "Yeah, better than okay. Heard about the settlement. Congratulations." "Thanks." Marcos hesitated. "For what it's worth, I never liked her. Too cold. Too much like her mother." Spencer laughed despite himself. "You could have mentioned that 4 years ago. Would you have listened?" "Probably not." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Marcos had been with him since the second restaurant, a sous chef who'd become head chef and then a partner in the catering company. He'd seen the marriage deteriorate, had covered for Spencer countless times when family emergencies pulled him away from work. "What's next?" Marcos asked. "Make sure Emma adjusts okay. Keep the businesses running. Maybe expand the catering side. We've gotten a lot of new inquiries since the party." "Yeah, about that." Marcos grinned. "Word got around about what you did. Every vendor in SoCal is talking about it. Some people think it was petty, but most think it was hilarious. And the people who matter, our clients, they respect someone who stands up for himself and his kid." "Good." Also, Brooke Underwood called. "You know, the event planner who handles the Fairmont weddings." Spencer nodded. Brooke was a legend in the industry, known for her exquisite taste and demanding standards. "She wants to discuss an exclusive catering contract. Says anyone who can pull off coordination like you did, quote, has the precision and professionalism I require." She was impressed. Spencer had to laugh at that. His revenge on Lydia and Gwendolyn had become a networking opportunity. The irony was perfect. "Set up a meeting." "Already did. Monday at 10. "Of course you did." Marcos stood to leave, then paused at the door. "Emma's lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have her." After Marcos left, Spencer pulled up the photos from Emma's real birthday celebration, the one with just the two of them, messy and imperfect, and filled with actual joy. Emma covered in chocolate, laughing at something stupid he'd said. Emma in her pajamas, dancing to music from his phone. Emma asleep on the couch, exhausted and happy. These were the moments that mattered. Not the Mosley estate, not the designer party, not the performance for people who measured worth by bank balances and pedigree. His phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. He almost ignored it, then recognized the area code. Riverside, his hometown. "Heard about your situation. Your dad would be proud. Stella's regulars." The text included a photo, a group of older people at the original Stella's, holding up glasses in a toast. Spencer recognized some of them, his mother's friends, people who'd supported him when he was just a kid with a dream and a dead father's recipe collection. He saved the photo, a reminder of where he came from and what actually mattered. Then he headed home to pick up Emma from the neighbor who'd been watching her while he worked. Emma ran to him the moment he opened the door, full of stories about her day, and Spencer scooped her up, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling her small arms around his neck. "Daddy, can we cook dinner together?" "Absolutely, sweet pea. What do you want to make?" "Spaghetti, like Grandpa Richard made." Spencer's throat tightened. He'd told Emma stories about his father, shown her the recipe cards, taught her to respect the craft of cooking. She'd never met Richard Wilkins, but she knew him through food and memory. "Spaghetti it is." They cooked together, Emma standing on her stool, carefully stirring the sauce while Spencer prepared the pasta. They ate at the kitchen table, not the formal dining room Lydia had insisted on. They laughed and talked and made a mess, and Spencer couldn't remember the last time he'd felt this content. After Emma went to bed, he returned to his office and pulled out a notebook, the same kind his father had used for recipes. But instead of food, Spencer started documenting everything he'd learned. The importance of documentation, the power of patience, the necessity of protecting what mattered most. Someday, he might need these lessons again. Or maybe Emma would need them when she was older, facing her own battles. For now, though, the war was won. Lydia had her supervised visit scheduled. Gwendolyn was forbidden from unsupervised contact pending therapy. The house, the assets, the custody, all secured. Spencer Wilkins, the restaurant owner from Riverside, had defeated the Mosley family empire not with money or status, but with preparation, documentation, and the willingness to walk away when necessary. His father had taught him that if you can cook, you can feed yourself, and if you can feed yourself, you can feed others. That was power they couldn't take away. But Spencer had learned something else. If you can protect what you love, truly protect it, then nothing else matters. The rest was just noise. 3 months later, Spencer stood in the doorway of Emma's room, watching her sleep. The supervised visitation with Lydia had been awkward but manageable. Emma was in therapy, processing the changes, and seemed to be adjusting well. She talked to Lydia on the phone twice a week, saw her every other Saturday for 4 hours at a neutral location with a court-appointed supervisor present. Lydia was trying. Spencer could see that. She'd completed the parenting classes, was in therapy, had apparently ended things with Colin. During the last visitation, she'd actually played with Emma. Really played, not just supervised from a distance while checking her phone. It was a start. Gwendolyn, predictably, was less compliant. She'd attended 2 therapy sessions before her attorney filed a motion to modify the restraining order. Spencer's attorney shut it down immediately, citing Gwendolyn's failure to complete the required sessions and her continued hostile communications about Spencer to mutual acquaintances. The judge added another 6 months to the requirement. The business was thriving. The Brooke Underwood contract had led to 3 more exclusive arrangements with high-end venues. The restaurants were fully booked months in advance. Marcos had taken over day-to-day operations of 2 locations, freeing Spencer to focus on Emma and strategic growth. Spencer's phone buzzed on his nightstand. A message from Terrence Kramer. Thought you should know. Lydia filed notice with the court. She's relocating to San Diego. New job, fresh start. Requesting modification to visitation schedule to accommodate distance. Spencer read the message twice, considering the implications. San Diego was close enough for regular visits, but far enough to establish real distance. Lydia was rebuilding her life away from her mother's influence, which was probably healthy for everyone involved. He typed back. What's she proposing? 1 weekend a month in San Diego, 1 weekend a month she comes here. Plus extended summer and holiday time. She's also requesting the supervision requirement be reviewed in 3 months instead of 6, citing her progress and the distance factor. Spencer thought about it. Emma was doing well. The therapy was helping. And if Lydia was genuinely trying to change, maybe she deserved a chance at meaningful custody. Tell my attorney I'm open to discussing it, provided Emma's therapist agrees the arrangement is in her best interest and Lydia maintains her current progress. Will do. You're being generous. I'm being practical. Emma needs her mother, if her mother can be who Emma needs. After ending the conversation, Spencer returned to Emma's doorway. His daughter shifted in her sleep, hugging her stuffed rabbit close. She was happy, secure, loved. That was what mattered. The revenge he'd executed hadn't been about destruction. It had been about protection. Protecting Emma from people who saw her as a pawn, who measured her worth by social status instead of character, who would have taught her that love was conditional on meeting arbitrary standards. Now Emma knew that her father would show up, would fight for her, would put her first. That was the lesson worth teaching. Everything else, the canceled party, the divorce, the legal battles, was just the mechanism for delivering that lesson. Spencer closed Emma's door gently and headed to his own room. Tomorrow, he'd call Emma's therapist to discuss Lydia's request. He'd review the new catering contracts Marcos had secured. He'd plan next week's menu specials and interview candidates for the sous chef position at the newest location. Tomorrow, he'd continue building the life he'd fought for. But tonight, he'd sleep peacefully, knowing his daughter was safe, his battles were won, and the empire he'd built through hard work and dedication was finally, truly his own. Richard Wilkins had been right. If you can cook, you have power they can't take away. Spencer had just proven that if you document everything, plan carefully, and act decisively, you have something even more valuable, the power to protect what you love from those who don't deserve it. And in the end, that was the only power that mattered. 6 months after Emma's disastrous 5th birthday party, Spencer received an unexpected visitor at the downtown restaurant. Gwendolyn Mosley walked in at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, after the lunch rush, but before dinner prep. She looked older, diminished somehow, though her posture was still ramrod straight, and her clothes still screamed expensive. Spencer was in the kitchen when Marcos found him. Boss, you have a visitor. Front dining room. Who? Your former mother-in-law. Spencer set down the knife he'd been using to prep vegetables. Alone. Appears to be. Interesting. He washed his hands, removed his apron, and walked to the dining room with deliberate calm. Gwendolyn sat at a corner table, staring at the menu like it contained secrets to the universe. Gwendolyn, Spencer said, not sitting down. This is unexpected. She looked up, and for the first time since he'd known her, her eyes held something other than disdain. Uncertainty, maybe. Or exhaustion. Spencer, thank you for seeing me. I haven't decided if I'm seeing you or asking you to leave. What do you want? To talk. 5 minutes. Please. The please was new. Spencer pulled out a chair and sat, keeping the table between them. You have 3 minutes. Gwendolyn set down the menu with shaking hands. I've been attending therapy, as required by the court, and it's been illuminating. Good for you. My therapist suggested I might have certain issues with control and status, that I may have projected my own insecurities onto my relationships with others, including you. Spencer waited, saying nothing. I was wrong, Gwendolyn continued, the words clearly costing her. About you. About your worth as a father. About your place in Emma's life. I let my prejudices, my fears about Lydia's future, cloud my judgment. And I hurt my granddaughter in the process. You did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't expect that. But I wanted you to know that I understand what I did was wrong. And if there's any possibility, any chance at all, that I might have supervised visitation with Emma eventually, I would like to work toward that. For her sake, not mine. Spencer studied her carefully. She looked sincere, but Gwendolyn Mosley had perfected the art of appearing sincere for 60 years. Trust would take more than one conversation. Emma's therapist would need to approve it, Spencer said finally. And Emma would need to want it. Those are non-negotiable. I understand. And you need to complete all court-ordered therapy. No more motions to modify. No more attempts to circumvent the requirements. I will. Why now, Gwendolyn? What changed? She looked down at her hands, expensive rings glinting in the afternoon light. Lydia moved to San Diego. Did you know? I approved the custody modification. Of course you did. You've been remarkably fair about everything, which makes my behavior even more inexcusable. She took a breath. But with Lydia gone, I realized I've lost my daughter. She barely speaks to me, won't return my calls, blames me for ruining her marriage, for influencing her toward Colin, for the entire disaster. And she's right to blame me. I did those things. Yes, you did. I'm 73 years old, Spencer. I have money, status, a beautiful home, and absolutely no one who loves me. My husband died 5 years ago. Lydia won't speak to me. Emma doesn't know me. I've spent my entire life building walls to keep the wrong people out, and I've ended up completely alone behind them. Spencer felt a flicker of something, not quite sympathy, but maybe understanding. He'd seen loneliness before, in customers who came to his restaurants alone night after night, seeking connection through food and familiar faces. That sounds like something to discuss with your therapist, he said. It is. And I am. But I also wanted you to hear it from me directly. I was wrong. You are a good father. A good man. And I'm sorry for treating you otherwise. Spencer stood. I appreciate you saying that. But my priority is Emma's well-being, not your redemption arc. I wouldn't expect anything else. If you complete your therapy, if you demonstrate genuine change, and if Emma's therapist and Emma herself agree, then we can discuss supervised visitation. Until then, the court order stands. Gwendolyn nodded, standing as well. Thank you for listening. She started to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, Emma is lucky to have you. I should have said that years ago. After she left, Marcos appeared from the kitchen. Did I just witness Gwendolyn Mosley apologizing? You did. Hell must have frozen over. Spencer laughed despite himself. Maybe. Or maybe therapy actually works. You going to let her see Emma? If Emma wants to see her, and if she proves she's changed, then maybe. Eventually. With supervision. You're a better man than I am. I'm just trying to do right by Emma. If having a relationship with her grandmother is good for her, then I'll make it happen. But she comes first. Always. Marcos clapped him on the shoulder. Richard would be proud, man. Your dad would be really proud. Spencer thought about that as he returned to the kitchen. His father had taught him about hard work, about dignity, about building something meaningful. But he'd also taught him, in those final days, about grace. The world doesn't owe you anything, Richard had said. But that doesn't mean you can't show mercy when you have the power to do so. Spencer hadn't understood at 19. But at 34, with his own daughter to raise and his own battles won, he understood perfectly. Power wasn't about crushing your enemies. It was about protecting what mattered and having the strength to show mercy when mercy served a purpose. Whether Gwendolyn deserved that mercy remained to be seen. But Emma deserved every chance at having family who loved her properly, even if that family needed therapy and supervision to get there. For now, Spencer had prep work to finish, a daughter to pick up from school, and a life to live. A life he'd fought for and won. A life built on the foundation his father had laid and the lessons he'd learned the hard way. The rest would sort itself out in time. It always did. 1 year after the party that changed everything, Spencer stood in the backyard of his house now, fully and completely, watching Emma play with 3 of her school friends. Real friends, not children of Gwendolyn's social circle. Just regular kids who liked dinosaurs and finger painting and didn't care about anyone's social status. The birthday party was simple. Backyard barbecue, water balloons, a homemade cake shaped like a butterfly. Emma had requested butterflies this year, a departure from last year's princess theme that still carried Gwendolyn's influence. Lydia was there too, sitting in a lawn chair and actually smiling, actually relaxed. She'd been making real progress. The therapy was working, the distance from Gwendolyn was working, the fresh start in San Diego was working. She had Emma every other weekend now, unsupervised, and the visits were going well. Emma actually looked forward to them. "Daddy, Mommy, watch this." Emma executed a messy cartwheel, ending up tangled in her own legs, but laughing anyway. "Beautiful, sweet pea," Spencer called. "Perfect form," Lydia added, her enthusiasm genuine if slightly exaggerated. Later, after the other kids had been picked up by their parents, after the cake was eaten and the presents opened, Lydia helped Spencer clean up while Emma played with her new art supplies on the patio. "This was nice," Lydia said, loading paper plates into a trash bag. "Thank you for including me. Emma wanted you here. That's what matters. Still, I know I don't deserve." "Lydia," Spencer stopped her. "You're doing the work. You're showing up. You're being the mother Emma needs. That's enough." She nodded, blinking back tears. "I'm sorry. For everything. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know I mean it. Mother twisted everything, and I let her, and I nearly lost the most important thing in my life. Emma, both of you. I had a good man, a good life, and I threw it away because I thought I deserved something better, something that looked right to other people. I was an idiot." Spencer didn't disagree, but he didn't pile on either. "We can't change the past. We can only do better going forward. Are you seeing anyone?" The question came out rushed, like she'd been holding it in. "I mean, dating? That's not really your business anymore. I know. I hope you find someone who appreciates you. Someone who deserves you. Worry about Emma, not about my love life." Lydia managed a small smile. "Fair enough." Before she left, she hugged Emma goodbye, a real hug that Emma returned enthusiastically. Progress. Real, measurable progress. After Lydia drove away, Spencer and Emma settled on the couch with a movie, Emma's head on his shoulder, her new butterfly stuffed animal clutched in her arms. "Daddy." "Yeah, sweet pea. This was the best birthday ever. Even better than last year." Spencer teased, remembering their chocolate cake and movies celebration after the disastrous party. "Way better. Because Mommy was here too, and she was happy. I like happy Mommy." "Me too, baby. And next year, can Grandma Gwendolyn come? She sent me a card, and she wrote that she misses me." Spencer had seen the card, a simple birthday message, appropriate and restrained, with a $50 check that Gwendolyn probably thought was appropriate, but was actually excessive for a 6-year-old. Spencer had deposited it into Emma's college fund. "Maybe," Spencer said carefully, "if your therapist thinks it's a good idea, and if Grandma keeps working on being the kind of grandma you deserve." "Okay." Emma snuggled closer. "I'm glad I have you, Daddy. I'm glad I have you too, sweet pea. Always." As the movie played, Spencer reflected on the journey from that devastating party to this peaceful evening. He'd lost a marriage, but he'd saved his daughter. He'd lost his illusions about the Mosley family, but he'd gained clarity about what actually mattered. He'd executed a perfect revenge, but the real victory was sitting beside him, warm and safe and loved. His phone buzzed with a message from Marcos. "Boss, you seeing the reviews? That food critic from LA Times just posted. 5 stars. She called Stella's the heart of authentic California cuisine." Spencer smiled but didn't respond. The restaurants would still be there tomorrow. The business would continue thriving. Right now, he had a movie to watch and a daughter to hold. The world didn't owe him anything. His father had taught him that. But through hard work, careful planning, and the courage to fight for what mattered, Spencer had built a life worth living. And sometimes, that was the best revenge of all. Living well, loving deeply, and protecting what was precious with everything you had. The rest was just details. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.